Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. Today, you've steered us towards a fascinating subject, Splash Beverage Group, SBEV. We've got a collection of recent reports and analyses that you shared, covering, well, everything from their latest financials to their stock performance and where they fit in the industry.
That's right.
Our goal is to extract the crucial insights for you without getting lost in, unnecessary detail.
And we're looking at a few key pieces here. Some recent news from April 2025, a detailed due diligence report dated April 17th, 2025, and another analysis from that same date.
Okay.
So it should give us a pretty, multifaceted view of SBEV right now.
Absolutely. We're going to unpack their recent financial performance, try to understand the story behind those, dramatic swings in their stock price.
Quite dramatic.
Get a clear grasp of their core business, identify the key risks and opportunities on their radar, and see how they stack up against competitors.
Kind of a rapid immersion into Splash Beverage.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
So where should we begin? Maybe the financials, the recent results.
Sounds like a good plan. Okay, so for the fiscal year ending December 2023, revenue came in around $18.85 million.
Okay.
But what's really interesting is the growth trend over the last, say, 5 years. You look back at 2019, it was just over $1 million.
Wow.
Then $2.98 million in 2020, a big jump to $11.32 million in 2021. And then it's been around that $18 million plus mark for both 22 and 23.
So quite a ramp up, especially between 2020 and 2021.
Definitely shows expansion on the top line.
But the information also flags a recent net loss, something like $4.72 million, despite this revenue. So money's coming in, but profitability seems to be missing.
That's the catch, isn't it? They're trailing 12 months EPS, earnings per share. It's deeply negative, around minus $49.81 per share.
Oof.
Yeah, it really underscores the ongoing losses. And looking further, their free cash flow is also consistently negative, about minus $10.2 million in the latest year.
Okay, so negative EPS, negative free cash flow. That definitely raises questions about, financial sustainability long term.
It does. You see revenue growing, but if the costs are growing faster or margins are thin, profitability remains elusive. It often points to high operating expenses, maybe heavy investment in growth.
Right, spending money to make money, perhaps, but not quite there yet.
Could be. We'd need to look closer at their filings, cost of goods sold, operating expenses, to really pinpoint the pressure points.
Okay, so with these losses persisting, what exactly are they doing to bring in that $18-odd million in revenue? What's the core business?
Well, Splash Beverage Group is positioned as a diversified beverage company. They're involved in manufacturing, distribution, marketing, sales, both alcoholic and non-alcoholic stuff.
Diversified, okay.
And a key part of their strategy seems to be acquiring and then trying to grow early-stage beverage brands they think have potential.
Got it. What kind of brands are we talking about? Anything specific mentioned?
Yeah, the reports break it down a bit. In their manufacturing and distribution segment, they've got Salt Tequila, Chispo Tequila, Copa di Vino, that's wine, Popo Loco Sangria, and Tap Boot Performance Drinks, Hydration and Energy.
So tequila, wine, sangria, performance drinks. Quite a mix.
It is. And then they also have an e-commerce retail side through qplash.com. That's for direct-to-consumer and business sales, too.
Okay, so multiple brands and multiple channels. How do they get these drinks out there? You mentioned distribution.
Right. For the alcohol side, it's mainly the traditional three-tier system, manufacturer, distributor, distributor to retailer, retailer to consumer, that regulated path.
The standard route for alcohol.
And then separately, they use their own qplash platform for those direct sales online.
And strategy-wise, what's the focus?
The reports suggest an emphasis on things like natural ingredients, sustainability, which is a big trend,
Definitely.
product innovation, and targeted marketing, trying to build those brands.
Okay, that gives us a clearer picture of what they actually do. Now, one thing that really jumped out was the stock price. You mentioned volatility earlier.
Yeah.
It seems like it's been on a real roller coaster.
Oh, absolutely. The stock, SBEV, saw this dramatic surge recently, up 45.74% on April 16th alone.
Wow, 45% in a day.
And significant jumps in the days before that, too. April 15th, it closed at $2.82, which was apparently a 104% gain during the day. Pre-market on the 16th hit $3.75. Big moves.
Incredible swings. What's driving that?
Seems to be a few things, according to the sources. A big one is new distribution agreements, especially a partnership with a, quote, leading European distributor.
International expansion potential.
That seems to be the idea. Investors likely see potential for, significant revenue growth and market expansion there. That news really boosted confidence.
Makes sense. The distribution deals are often key for beverage companies. Anything else?
The reports also mention strategic cost-cutting measures. So alongside the revenue growth, they seem to be trying to show some operational resilience by managing expenses.
Okay, trimming costs while growing sales. That's a narrative investors might like.
And then there's also some speculation mentioned, potential strategic partnerships, maybe even investments from VC groups, though it's stressed this is speculation, not confirmed.
Right, market chatter adding to the excitement.
Seems like it, a mix of concrete news and anticipation.
But it wasn't all positive on the stock front recently, was it? I recall reading about a drop earlier in April.
That's right. This surge came after a period of what the reports call extreme volatility. The price dropped quite a bit in early April, down to around $1.43.
And what prompted that drop?
That coincided with the news that the NYSE American Exchange had initiated delisting proceedings against them.
Okay. That's serious. A delisting notice is never good news.
Not at all. It signals non-compliance with the exchange's requirements and creates a lot of uncertainty. That kind of news can definitely trigger a sharp sell-off.
Understood. So high highs and low lows recently.
Yeah.
Let's circle back to distribution. That European deal sounds key. Any other specific partnerships mentioned?
Yes. Domestically, they highlighted that Publico Sangria is now placed in over 115 Total Wine and More stores across the U.S.
Okay. Getting shelf space in a major national retailer like Total Wine is significant progress, too.
It shows they are making inroads in the traditional retail channels here as well.
But let's talk risks. The delisting issue seems like a big one.
It's a major risk, absolutely. If they can't regain compliance, being delisted from the NYSE American would be a huge blow. It affects liquidity, investor perception, everything.
What other risks are flagged?
Well, high leverage is another concern.
Yeah.
The due diligence report mentions total debt near $9.35 million. And that's against a negative stockholders' equity of about minus $5.61 million.
So debt is significantly higher than equity, which is already negative. That's not a strong balance sheet position.
Not ideal, no. It indicates significant financial risk. And we already touched on the ongoing net losses and the negative free cash flow.
Right, persistent issues.
Those raise fundamental questions about their path to profitability and, long-term viability. There was also mention of delays in filing some SEC reports.
That can sometimes signal internal issues, can't it? Or at least worry investors about transparency.
It can, yes. And then, of course, there are the broader economic challenges, supply chain issues, inflation, things that affect everyone, but can be harder for smaller companies to navigate.
So quite a list of challenges. Delisting threat, debt, losses, reporting delays, macro headwinds. But presumably, there are opportunities too, strengths.
There are. The reports point out that their focus on premium lifestyle beverages seems to align well with current consumer trends towards, healthier options, more premium experiences.
That's a growing market segment.
It is. And having a diverse portfolio across both alcoholic and non-alcoholic drinks can also be a strength, potentially spreading risk.
Okay, what else?
They mention an experienced leadership team, including some people with backgrounds at major players like Red Bull. That industry experience could be valuable.
Having people who've been there, done that can help.
Potentially, yes. And as we discussed, they are expanding distribution, both through traditional retail like Total Wine and their own e-commerce platform.
And what about Wall Street analysts? What's the view there?
It's interesting. One report notes an analyst consensus leaning towards outperform, and it mentions a high average target price, somewhere around $40.
$40? Wow, that seems ambitious, given the current price and the risks we just outlined.
It does seem ambitious, yes. It suggests analysts see significant potential if the company executes well, resolves the NYSE issue, leverages these new distribution deals, maybe gets those costs under control, and perhaps lands one of those speculated partnerships.
A lot of ifs.
A lot of ifs. But it indicates some belief in the underlying growth story and the market opportunity, despite the very real challenges.
How does Splash Beverage fit into the bigger picture? The whole beverage industry. Who are they up against?
Well, the industry trend is definitely towards healthier, more premium drinks, which plays into their strategy. Some competitors mentioned are Celsius Holdings, Monster Beverage, National Beverage.
Okay, but those are giants, right? Monster, Celsius. They're huge compared to SBEV's $18 million revenue.
Exactly. It's a crucial point. SBV is operating on a completely different scale. They seem to be competing more through niche innovation, maybe targeting specific consumer segments with these acquired brands, and using that multi-channel approach, the traditional tiers plus their direct e-commerce.
So less about head-to-head competition on scale, more about finding their specific lanes.
That appears to be the strategy, yes. They lack the massive scale and marketing budgets of the big players, so they need to be smarter, more targeted.
Got it. And finally, valuation and investor sentiment. What do the numbers tell us there?
Well, as we said, no meaningful positive P ratio because of the losses. But interestingly, the price-to-book ratio is noted as being high, around 4 or maybe more.
High PD despite negative equity and losses. That suggests the market's pricing in a lot of future hope, doesn't it?
It does suggest optimism, yes. Or perhaps reflect the value attributed to the brands and distribution network they've built, even if it's not profitable yet. Their beta was also mentioned as high, around 1.51.
Okay, so more volatile than the overall market. No surprise there, given the recent swings.
Not at all. It confirms what we've seen. So overall investor sentiment seems cautiously optimistic, maybe. There's definite excitement about the distribution deals and the growth potential.
But tempered by the financials and the NYSE situation.
Precisely. It's a balancing act for investors right now.
So wrapping this up, SBEV clearly presents a complicated picture. You've got undeniable top-line growth, some exciting news on the distribution front. It suggests they're gaining some traction.
They're getting products out there, expanding their reach.
But on the other hand, the significant net losses, that high debt load, and especially the ongoing delisting risk from the NYSE, those are serious concerns you can't ignore.
Absolutely critical factors. That recent stock surge clearly reflects enthusiasm for the partnerships and maybe future potential, but the underlying financial health, as highlighted in that due diligence report, is still a major question mark.
And that analyst target price, while suggesting potential upside, really hinges on them fixing those compliance issues and proving they can turn revenue into actual profit consistently.
It's a big hurdle. Success isn't guaranteed by any means.
So ultimately, anyone looking at Splash Beverage needs to carefully weigh those growth ambitions and market opportunities against the pretty stark financial realities and those regulatory hurdles they face. We hope this breakdown has given you a clearer perspective on the key points from the information you shared.
And as always, we encourage you to do your own further research. Digging into their SEC filings directly would give you the most comprehensive understanding.
Definitely. Please subscribe, like, and comment if you found this analysis helpful. Let us know if there are other companies you'd like us to explore.